the funny thing is, when I see these guys, like Stoney said, the stories just start coming back to my memory when I'm, out in my everyday life and dealing with life on life's terms. I don't really think about it that much, but the second we're all around each other, it's funny how it comes back and we relive. Number one, how much fun we had, and I think we realized what a great time in our life that was, and wish we were back there.
Yeah, you wish you could. And it's when you're in it, when you're working out in the off season and you're doing your off season drills and you're working out at 5 a.m. and it's hard and tough, you don't appreciate it at that time. But then when you do get back together, you know that you sacrificed and you did that with this group of guys, and so it makes it all worthwhile. 20 years later, you can understand the commitment that everybody from top to bottom made on that team in order for us to be successful, and in order for us to bring a national championship to Notre Dame, which was the greatest thing. You're everybody's big game when you're traveling around the country, and so to have a Notre Dame team that's a dominating Notre Dame team that everybody wants to beat, and you're going in there and you're crushing people, and your defense is shutting people out, and your offense is putting points on the board, it's a really great feeling.
Do you guys expect that great feeling when we're playing Navy in Ireland this year on September 1st?
I do. If Wes runs off the sidelines and comes out of the stadium and makes a tackle, I think that'll be awesome.
Wes, Michael and Frank and yourself, the three amigos, that you talk about Coach Alvarez and how he was in his style and how he believed in keeping the guys loose, and Michael touched on it. He was, the atmosphere was loose, but when it was time to practice, it was time to practice. Now, with all that being said, how did you get away with taking Tim Frister's cigar and puffing on it during practice and not have Coach Holtz all over your rear end?
Well, I think I had a little bit of a reputation as a practical joker. I can't remember exactly what game we were getting ready for. And the good news is that Coach Holtz spent the majority of his time with the offense, and they practiced on a different field than the defense. Barry had a good sense of humor. We laughed and had a good time, and of course, all that stuff kind of comes about too when you're having success and you're winning football games. And I don't remember exactly how it took place. Priester was smoking a cigar. I said, "Let me have that thing," and I grabbed it. I had I never unbuckled the strap. I put it on and ran it back. Ran out to the huddle before Alvarez could see me. I waited till I got all the way out to the field, and then I turned around so that when I puffed on the cigar, all he could see was the smoke and the red glow as he's looking into the huddle, trying to call the defense. He was like, "What the hell's going on?" Hold on a second. And I came running back out with smoke puffing, and I handed the cigar back to Priester. So I got a lot of notoriety. I guess it was pretty damn funny, but. You guys were taking shots at each other, and Frank taunted you on going toe-to-toe with the Miami kicker in the tunnel in '88. You guys still take shots at each other like that today after all these years? Absolutely. You know what? If you can't laugh at yourself and have fun, then what's the point? I think Michael touched on part of it. There's a lot of things that have to come together to be a successful sporting team. You obviously have to have talent. But we used to always talk about chemistry, and I think that's one thing that we really had on that team, especially on defense. We had some really talented guys. We had a lot of really tough guys, but we had a lot of personalities that really fit together. And there was a lot of really big games and a lot of pressure that sort of mounted as that season went on. When you get to be ranked number one, or you're in the top 5, or you're playing, USC and and you're playing Miami. And I think there was a good mix of being able to sort of turn it on when we needed to turn it on, but also to sort of have fun and sort of have moments of a break when you could sort of laugh it up and enjoy yourself. Really enjoying ourselves along the ride instead of, and just being too serious all the time. I think and this is my comment from 30,000 feet, and I don't want to, to be some big headline the next day, but it just seems to me like, a lot of the kids today don't seem to have, they're so serious, and it's okay to be serious, but they don't seem to really be having fun. And when you start having fun, it just becomes contagious, and it carries over. And when you really enjoy something that you're doing, you're better at it. And we had a nice mix of that year. I mean, I would think everybody that played on that team through all the games that we played as it evolved, it never seemed like work. It really did.
That's, having played under Coach Holtz, what did that mean to you, and how does it still influence you today?
Well, I mean, Lou's a pretty amazing guy. I mean, we were all young, impressionable, college students. We had obviously aspirate. I mean, everybody went to, you went to a school like Notre Dame to play the best teams and to win national championships and or at least be in the hunt. I had been recruited during the Faust year, so we obviously had, we had struggled, and I had been through some pretty tough times. When Coach Holtz came in, I don't even know how to really explain. I'm sure you've heard all the stories of how things changed instantaneously. The tone, the things he said, the way he set our priorities, what he expected. He just set the bar really high and started making guys, answer to a higher level on all accords. School, practice, friendship, whatever, commitment. And he's a pretty awe-inspiring guy. I mean, there's a lot of things that I believe he instilled in the players of our time that have carried forth into, life after football. And there's been a lot of guys that are really successful, and whenever we get together, I mean, I think every guy has some phrase that Coach Holtz said at some point that he felt has influenced something that he's done in his life. So I would say, to answer your question, he's been an extremely positive influence on many levels outside of just playing football.
After what was, I'm told, was a pretty interesting recruiting visit to South Bend, what was the decision process for you to choose Notre Dame as your college of choice?
Wow, that's you're taking me back. It's funny. My dad, I grew up in Atlanta. My father played football at Georgia. My sister went to school at the University of Georgia. I was getting recruited right after the Herschel Walker year, so the University of Georgia was definitely a big influence or place that I was considering going at the time. And it really come down to Georgia and Notre Dame, and Georgia kept trying to get me to commit before I went to South Bend for my final visit, and I wouldn't do it. I go up to South Bend. I don't think I had ever been north of North Carolina, to be honest with you. I get up there. It's the middle of winter, snow everywhere. Everybody I met was, to me, it looked like they were 6'8", 325 pounds. And I just sort of felt like, good Lord, I'm never going to play up here. These guys are too good. They're too many good athletes. But I always loved Notre Dame, and my dad had always loved Notre Dame for some reason. Maybe it was his generation. Whenever Notre Dame would play Georgia Tech in Atlanta, we would go to the games. We'd go down on the fields. I'd get the Notre Dame football players' signatures or autographs. Anyway, I got back, and I pulled. I think I'd come down to Notre Dame at Georgia, and I pulled Georgia out of the hat. So I walked in and told my dad I wanted to go to Georgia. We called Georgia. They said, well, if the scholarship happens to come up, there's a possibility we might have a spot for you. But if you want to walk on, we'll pay for your school. If you want to go to graduate school, I said, that's enough. Stop right there. Believe it or not. And so that was I picked up the phone, called Notre Dame, and said, never been happier to go to the University of Notre Dame, and I can't wait to get there. So, you're an 18. You're actually, I don't even think I was 18 years old yet, making a decision like that. At the end of the day, really, I had always wanted to go to Notre Dame for the reason that, that was the reason I had gone to a preparatory school. I wanted to get a good education. I had taken visits to Duke and Vanderbilt and some of the other, academic schools. I had gotten recruited by some of the Ivy League schools. And I will never forget one of my high school coaches saying to me, Wes, you want to consider going to a school if you got hurt the first day you were there, you'd be glad you graduated from there. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I think everything works out for a reason. And, I've never been, I could not be happier that I obviously attended Notre Dame, and the experience was great, and it's changed my life. So,
I read that you had a record with Res Life before you even got on campus because of something that happened during your recruiting trip. Is that true?
Yeah, I was the one of the few recruits that's ever had a record. You have very good research. I had a record with student affairs prior to enrollment.